Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk. Welcome to Straight Talk.
African President of the United States of America, President Barack Obama.
Good to see you. I just want to say everybody back home, right back at you. We appreciate you. You always give us straight talk.
Hello, welcome to Straight Talk, people. Tonight, we are still tweaking our system, so don't get excited. We'll be back in full swing very, very shortly. But we could not resist having my good friend to come and talk about his candidacy, William Laws. How you doing, Bill?
Good evening once again, WL. Always pleased to be here with you.
Say hello to my colleague, the former and future mayor of Riverdale, Illinois.
Mayor, Your Honor, pleased to be with you this evening also.
Pleasure to be with you as well.
Yes, sir.
Now, tonight, I want to discuss what is happening in our country, in our world. There's so many things happening. There are tornadoes, floods. In California, there were, 39 people killed from a fire? Mm-hmm. But what was amazing, one house in the middle of all of it, fire didn't even touch the grounds around it. Mm-hmm. Everything around it was destroyed, burnt to the ground. Yes, we don't know why it went around our house, but they weren't in there. They were trying to find out, but they came back after everything was put out in that area. It was still smoking a little bit, but no fire. Mm-hmm. So they wanted the cameras, the news wanted to know, why is this house still standing? Why did the fire go around this house?
Well, I'm sure there's an explanation for it, and if I had
if there is one, you're going
to render an opinion, mm-hmm. Sometimes if there's a house, and for whatever reason, historical value or whatever, that the firemen want to preserve, or it has been told to the powers that be to preserve it, if the firemen build a fire around those premises and then put the fire out, when the surrounding fires then come, the fires can't burn what's already been burned. In other words, the fires can't go any further than it's already been.
Yeah.
Now, that's my opinion. Is it based on some type of law? Probably not, but it makes sense.
You just a brainio. That's all.
Right.
Brainio judge. Right. Okay.
I put my opinion into the biblical respect of it, in that what all the things that are going on in the world today, from the storms, tsunamis, and this fire that you're talking about. There's a whole lot of things that were still standing. Even in the water situations, in the floods. And I just think there's a subliminal message in it, that if he wants to destroy, if God wants to wipe everything off the face of the earth, he can. And there's certain reasons, just like you're questioning, why is that one house still standing?
Yeah, well, my next question would have been, why only 39 people? Was that planned? I'm not going to ask Bill because he'll come up with.
I don't know about the loss of life. If that's what you're speaking to, 39. It's just.
But there's thousands of people live in that area. Why did it just come to 39? Why did 39 people decide to stick around and get burned up?
Laws, would you, Attorney Law?
Well, once again.
Now see,
you have to understand, people can be warned and they can be forewarned, mm-hmm. But that does not necessarily mean they will accept what they're being told. In Noah's time, those people saw him out there building that ark, and he told them one day it's going to rain, but they didn't know what rain was, but he told them it was going to rain, and it rained. And at that point, when it rained and the ark began to rise, the people then began to appreciate and understand that we should have listened to Noah. He did warn us, but by not listening, and then those that were left behind were all washed away.
Well, I don't think he planned to take them with him anyway. That's why he only took one of each.
Well,
One
he
man, one woman. He took all of his children.
Yeah, he did do that. Yes, he did.
And his wife, but
Yes, he
he
did.
took one man, one woman, one rooster, one hen,
But they could have.
one cow, one bull.
They could have built their own arks. I'm agreeing with
Yeah, they
Attorney
could
Laws
have.
is that
They
he
could
did
have.
tell the people that there will be 40 days and 40 nights of rain, and they saw him building this
Now, wait a
ark.
minute, y'all got me involved in this fantasy.
I mean, so they should have been listening and smart enough to say, well, let me at least build one, so if it do happen, we can be sailing in the seas too. As
You got
well.
that, ladies and gentlemen? You got that?
Yes.
If someone tells you that it's going to rain 40 days and 40 nights, go build yourself an ark.
They told the people before that fire came, it was going to be fires. They told them before the storms came, it's going to be storms. And those, like the attorney is stating, decided to stay there. So you're putting your life and your family life in jeopardy when you figure, oh, you know, I'm gonna weather this out. Okay.
Especially in Florida, it's really the governor told everybody, leave the state.
Right.
Don't hesitate, leave the state.
Right. So, but
What happened? I think that nothing happened in Florida, did it? Did the hurricane hit?
yeah, you got a portion of closer to Miami, the Miami side of things. It got flooded out. Remember, Miami, Florida area got flooded out very bad. But I mean, it comes down to a bigger picture than that. WL, I think that it's more so that we've been warned through the global warming situation that this has been coming for a very long time. And for it to simultaneously happen in all these communities, back to back, from storm to storm, hurricane to hurricane, I mean, and then you turn around and have these huge fires, it's telling you something is going on in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so don't ask me.
I'm not going, hey, I'm just saying there have been enough people preaching about it and talking about it, and even scientists even saying how they've been trying to muffle and put a muzzle on the situation that this is truly happening so that people won't be afraid or whatever it may be, but it's happening.
You know, they have all kind of nuclear weapons. They can do amazing things. Enough said.
Understandable. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that they can.
And they have the plutocracy who give orders around the free world. They control the free world. They create leaders of the free world, so-called leaders of the free world. You know, we think we're electing a president. We ain't electing our president. We don't elect our president, period. And it's not something that went over your head. They tell you that in the Constitution. Don't they, Counselor?
That one?
I have read the Constitution, but I have not found in the Constitution wherein it states that if given the right to vote, that one does not have the capacity to elect the president.
But it says very simply, because the American public may not be sophisticated enough to elect the right person to the office of president, we have the Electoral College to straighten it out. Now, maybe during those years, I mean, in those times, maybe the people weren't sophisticated. So, but we are sophisticated enough to read that down and say, hey, take that out of the Constitution. Forget that electoral vote junk, because we are sophisticated enough to know who we want for president. We do not want the ones that you have been chosen,
Well, I thought that was.
except Barack.
I thought that the electoral was put in place
And
because-
Clinton, yes. Huh?
because of the imbalance of certain areas of the amount of people who had the right to vote and not to vote. So they put the electoral in place to be a balancing
No.
to the overall voting.
No,
base.
follow what the Constitution says, not what you
No,
think.
I'm saying this is what my interpretation.
No, you may not be sophisticated enough to elect the right person. That's your interpretation?
No, that.
But that's what the Constitution says.
Okay.
It said because the American public may not be sophisticated enough to elect the right person to the office of presidency. You're trying to not. I'm tired of jiving at folks about, hey, you elect the president. We got to go out and vote. No. Think about your local judge, your alderman, your mayor, your senators, your state senator, your congressman, your United States senators. Those are the people that you elect. Get the right one and put them in office, and the plutocrats cannot control it. Ain't no telling what Trump's orders are. Ain't no telling what he is planning or what they have planned through him. He's acting crazy, so when you see it happen, you say, well, we knew he was crazy in the first place.
Well, do you think, and this is my question to you because, maybe you can answer it for me. I mean, okay, you say the electoral body is the one that actually puts the president in place, which has been proven to us through this last election.
No,
But
they proved that a number of times throughout history.
They have, but I'm saying the masses of people who actually cater to a certain individual, you don't think that they have an influence on an electoral body to say this is who we should go with?
What do you mean? What are you saying?
I'm saying
You think
even if the everyday Joe Blow vote, as you're stating, really doesn't matter when it comes to the presidency, and that the electoral body is the one who actually elects the president.
Right.
I'm stating, don't you think the masses and the influence of the wave of what's going on in that political season of the presidency is an influence to those electoral people who actually vote the president?
They got certain states
right.
where they got massive amounts of, they got enough votes to overturn certain things.
Right.
But Gore got so many votes that that it was hard for them. They had to go claiming hanging sheds. Remember, they had to claim hanging sheds in order to get enough votes for the electoral folks to the electoral. You had me saying electoral, the electoral college to put them in.
Right.
And then the people filed a complaint with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court justices asked, where's Mr. Gore? They said, he's not here. Well, we can't have a hearing without the victim. We're the victim. We voted for him. We want him to be president. Yes, we understand that, but we'll give you 10 days to get Mr. Gore here. When those 10 days was up, they back in court. They said, where's Mr. Gore? Mr. Gore said he had a golf game. Okay, plus Mr. Gore did not want the help of the most popular president we had during that time, which was Bill Clinton. He did not want his help. He's outrun, but I don't want any help from Bill Clinton. I don't want him near my campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he knew he would have won hands down. And he won anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But now he won't go and claim his victory, and people are mad at him. They were really mad at him because he didn't go and claim his victory. He didn't go to the Supreme Court to, help argue the case. He said, I'm not ready to go lay down next to Kennedy.
Well, I feel you on that, but still, with all that's going on in the world today, the atmosphere is set from the tone of the leadership of this country. And if you have, I don't care about him being chosen by certain individuals and them telling him what to do, it still has an effect on the everyday minds of the everyday folk. They react to.
That's why we need people like you guys
Right.
in these positions. See, who understand what your mission is. Your mission is not to follow some party or some organization. You follow the people who put you in office. Is that right, Mr. Judge?
Well, I think that a person running for office, an elective office, should realize, appreciate, and understand that when the people have spoken and you have been elected for a particular position, then you become a servant of the people.
Absolutely.
Which means that to the extent that the people would want you to perform in a certain manner, and this has been brought to your attention, then certainly you should hear the voice of the people and respond to their particular wants. Now, as far as a judge is concerned, once he's elected by the people, obviously at that point he does have constraints. Those constraints are the law that he must follow, and he does not have the authority to do what the people want, but he has to follow the law that has already been enacted by the legislature to make sure that any litigant that appears before him can be assured that the rule of law would be followed and not be at the whim of a particular community wants and needs. So to that extent, a judge has to be fair and impartial as far as the law is concerned.
And have vision to see
Well,
beyond. You know, like for instance, I told a friend of mine who had been arrested for disorderly conduct. I said, when you go before the judge, I said, when the guy is done testifying, ask the judge if you can ask him a question. And he said, I can ask him. I said, sure, the judge is going to allow that because you have a right to question your accuser. So when the guy was done testifying that he was disorderly and he had ran left of center going around them, who was parked in the middle of the street. So he said, when he was done, he said, officer, no, judge, may I ask him a question? Judge said, sure, you have a right. So he said, officer, who was I disorderly to? He said, oh, there were 7 or 8 people, 5 or 6 people standing on the corner waiting for a bus, and they were very upset at your action. And the judge looked at the window and said, wow, look at all that snow and hail and heat. Oh man, it's terrible weather out there. And the people in the audience are looking, trying to see what the judge is talking about. The judge looked at them and laughed and said, well, if you can believe what this man is saying, that there are 5 or 6 people standing on the corner of Indiana and 79th Street at 4:30 in the morning, you can believe that it's snowing and hailing out there right now. Case dismissed.
You know, that's interesting because a judge, based on his experience being in and around various courtrooms over certain years, should at some point develop the power of discernment.
There you go.
So that when he hears testimony that just doesn't make sense, then of course you don't make nonsense become sense. And if something is said that does not have the ring of truth to it, it does not have to be accepted by the judge, and the credibility of that particular witness does not have to be honored. For that reason, the judge made a credibility determination and came to the realization that that testimony was not accurate. I suspect it was a certain time of day that these people were supposed to be on the corner. What time of day was it?
4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning. Okay. And several people standing on the corner, being concerned about what's happening in the street.
Right. Standing on the corner waiting for a bus.
I would think that they're more concerned about catching their bus and the bus being on time.
The judge said, if you could tell me that if you can believe 4 or 5 people are standing on that corner of Indiana and 79th Street at 4:30 in the morning, you can believe it's snowing and hailing out there right now.
Right.
Because the guy he had followed the police for blocks. While they were just creeping down the street, he followed them. And he said, I wanted to turn on one of these side streets, but I didn't want to get off at 79th Street at this time of morning, you know, by myself in the car. So he stayed behind them creeping. So finally, they stopped in the middle of the street, didn't pull over to the side. There was room on either side for room for them to pull over. Then he could have gone around, because. But they stopped in the middle of the street, and he couldn't go to the left, to the right to go around them, because they were too close to the sidewalk. He would have to go up on the sidewalk. So he made a determination to go around them, after sitting for 10 minutes waiting for them.
10 minutes.
At least 10 minutes. He sat waiting for them to move, but they just sit there. They were baiting him. They wanted him to do that. So when he went around, they pulled around and stopped him.
Did this actually happen,
That
or
actually
this is
happened.
what somebody told you?
No. The friend told me it had happened.
I see.
So I went to court with him. I told him what to say, because I know you can't be disorderly to a policeman.
Oh, you told him what to say?
Yes.
So you was practicing law without a license?
I didn't go up there. I didn't go up there.
That's a good one.
I just know the law. I was a policeman at the time, and I know the law. So I said, you can't be disorderly to a policeman. So ask the judge if you can ask him a question. And when he said yes, then the judge is going to throw the case out, because he knows he's lying. So no, I got better sense to walk up before a judge talking about I'm a lawyer.
But you do know the law. A little, you've
Yeah.
been around enough attorneys and judges, and you picked up things here and there.
Absolutely.
Chester Blair had a massive library, and I stayed in that library. And I did semi-impersonate a lawyer once. But it wasn't me, the judge did it himself.
The law is such that when a person reads the law, it is still subject to interpretation.
It is, right.
Which means that when the judge is looking at a litigant who stands before him and he's testifying, perhaps there's some mitigation that would apply in a particular case. So for that reason, a judge could show some compassion. And merely because a man is accused of a crime does not necessarily mean he committed the crime. And so unless the state has been able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, then of course the judge has the discretion and the power to release a man, to find him not guilty. If he can say guilty sometime, he ought to be able to say not guilty sometime.
I feel you on that one, definitely. That's a very true statement.
But you see, if people come together, like Dion was saying earlier, and you said the same thing, and understand that public officials are servants of the people.
Absolutely.
They're servants of the people. If they understood that, then they could change some of these draconian laws by telling their state rep and their state senator, listen, this is unconstitutional. Get rid of that. This doesn't make sense. Get rid of that. Then I think the world would be much better off if they knew they had that kind of power and they utilized it.
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely if they utilize it, but it's, some laws are just made to affect certain situations, certain people, and, you just got to do your homework when you...
You say certain people. I know you're talking about the fact that crack was put into the black community at one time by the police, by law enforcement. I wouldn't say police, by law enforcement. They proved that the government put the crack there. In fact, what's his name? Highway Ricky.
Highway Ricky out of California.
Yeah. Highway Ricky was on radio the other day. In fact, he wrote a book about it, how they put this dope around for them to find.
Right.
And he made use of it, become a millionaire.
Right, they put it out. It's just like the guns and different things.
Right.
These young people today cannot just, how do they know on these trains? So they just arrested some young man I just saw on the news not too long ago that found all these automatic weapons. How did he know that this train coming through the community had these guns on? They give them tips,
Right.
letting them know. But sometimes somebody got to get busted so they can say they're doing something.
Right.
We're cracking down on the guns in the community, but really,
No, when they
not.
did that particular time, there may be a time where the kids got hip and said, "Hey man, maybe another train coming through with guns on it," you know. So they decided to do it on their own, and just like you said, they showed, "Oh, we caught him. We caught the kids." And the kids be trying to say, "Well, they told us where it was last time. Who told you?" They don't know who told them.
Right.
They don't know who told them. So
It's just.
plus, they may have sense enough to not implicate themselves on something beyond what they what they're called for right now.
Right. Nobody's going to tell on themselves, and no one's going to tell you that we're actually putting these things in your community to continue the destruction that's going on.
Right, they just get a tip. Hey man, there's a train.
Yeah, somebody telling me, I heard this.
No, a box of guns fell off the train. That's what one Ricky said. A box of guns fell off the train, and someone called them and told them where they were, and he knew it had to be law enforcement.
Because they should have known. The police, if somebody, these young people in the community know about where guns are at and different things, the law knows.
The fact that they were talking about marijuana then.
Oh,
I mean, not
marijuana.
marijuana, crack. Crack. It was crack what they were putting into the community.
Even that.
Yeah.
I mean, they have tipsters, people who are out there keeping them, you know, aware of what's going on in the community. So how some little young guy in the community gonna know more than what the authorities know?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's just.
So when we come before the judge for justice, are we really getting justice when we were set up on, and our little small brains fall right into the trap that'll sit there for you? Are we really getting justice?
When you talk about justice, you're talking about, did you get your day in court, and were you treated impartially and fairly, and did the judge render a just decision based on the evidence that was heard? Or, on the other hand, did you feel that you were treated less than the dignity that you were entitled to, and that you were discriminated against in some way merely because of the way you looked or how you talked, whether you had a white collar on, a blue collar, or a no collar?
Right.
And that for that reason you were judged not based on the facts, but based on your appearance. See, a person knows and understands.
Not facts, but fiction.
Well, not facts, but something less than the facts, which means that before the judge renders a decision, then it is based on something other than the evidence that was presented before him, and it may have been based on some notion he may have had or some feeling he may have had about the type of individual that appeared before him, or maybe the facts were just so gruesome that he just could not let the person be in charge get off. I suggest to you that judges have to make decisions based on the evidence, based on that which has been proven in court, and not deal with conjecture and speculation and conclusions that are reached without sufficient evidence.
Right.
That's good.
Absolutely. And sufficient evidence, when sufficient evidence is not available, oftentimes it's manufactured in our society.
But that does happen.
Yeah, I know.
We know that everybody that's sworn under oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and not the truth, may add a little yeast to the testimony along the way.
Well, no, they don't call it. What they call it is test the line.
Test the line? Is that the new version?
The new version of it is test the line. That's a new one.
It's not new. Back, I had the state's attorney to try to get me to test the line years ago. I said, I'm not getting up and test the line. I said, listen, this is what was given to me. This is the report I'm making based on my investigation.
Right.
Now, if there's something different or something wrong, let's reinvestigate. Let's redo it. You know, let's find what you're talking about, put it in there. I should say, let's find those words. Let's find what will make those words more true than what's there.
Right.
Well, we don't have to do all that. I said, yes, we do. If I'm going to say anything differently than what I discovered, so I'm not going to get it. Now I know those states attorneys do. I've had more than one to do that to me.
Well, sometimes you have to understand that when a case appears in court, the question becomes, should the state's attorney dismiss a charge when he's come to the realization that there's not sufficient evidence there? Or should he be one to attempt to do his job, which is try to get a conviction in each and every case?
I think that's unconstitutional. That's me personally. I think it's unconstitutional. I think, why should a citizen go through this when you as a state's attorney has determined that this is not true, and this man is innocent, but my job is to get him convicted, and I'm a little stronger than his attorney. I got a better insight on things than his attorney, so I can get this guy convicted. Why would he want to get that innocent man convicted?
Well, I can tell you this, W.M. My 37 years of practicing law in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, there are some state's attorneys that will do the right thing. And I can credibly tell you that I've had cases where they have dismissed charges on their own after talking to the alleged complaining witness and or the quote-unquote victim, came to the realization on their own that they don't have a sufficient basis for a charge, and in fact dismissed it on their own. So there are some state's attorneys that have a heart, that have a mind, that have compassion when they see that a person is being illegally detained, unlawfully arrested, and potentially looking to go to the business house, do the right thing.
You're right. Well, I had one to tell me in recent years that I said, you know, when the judge admonished the whole system for the arrest, I turned to him and I said, you know, when he said case dismissed, I turned to him. I said, you knew that. Why would you try and get this man convicted? And you're a lawyer. You know exactly what the judge said was true, and you knew that already. He said, yeah. He said, but it's my job to prosecute. He said, that's what your lawyer's job is for, to defend. I said, yeah, but if you know the man is innocent, through your legal knowledge of what's happening and what he's accused of, why would you try to get him convicted as a state's attorney? Because that's my job. Now, if I had been in felony review, when it came before me in felony review, I would have kicked it out there. But up at this area, up at this junction, it's my job to prosecute. It's your lawyer's job to defend it. I said, what if you're a little stronger than my lawyer, and my lawyer had lost the case? This man would have lost his everything, his whole career, because he's compassionate about what he does in law enforcement. I said, he would have lost everything because of your zealousness to prosecute. And I said, I'm just trying to find out why. And my lawyer walked up and said, because he's an asshole. And he said, now, Mr. Little, you and I are having a nice conversation. I'm not going to be berated by your counsel. And I said, calm down. I said, let me talk. I'm trying to get a tone on how these people operate now. I said, because, you know, they've been doing this for quite a while. I said, but, you know, I thought it was over. It may be over now that Kim is state's attorney. It may be over.
Well,
I think she's very
you
fair.
can't paint the state's attorney's office with a broad brush based on a singular incident that you've just cited. What do you think, young man?
I think the same thing. You just can't do a broad brushing over. I think you know.
You see, but that one single incident I can sit and talk about those kind of incidents for years and years
There's a
and
lot of them,
years.
and it's a lot of them
It
that
has happened.
actually takes
It's happened
place.
over
but-
and over and over. I saw it happening over and over, especially with that case, with that particular case. And the state's attorney himself told me that we know. When I showed him the law and showed him how convoluted the whole process is, I said, you're a lawyer, you're a state's attorney. You know exactly what I was talking about when I showed him the law. At that time, a security officer was actually a peace officer. He's still a peace officer, but because the law says in the state statute, it says the definition of a peace officer. It says anyone who by virtue of his office or public employment is vested with the duty to maintain public order or to make an arrest, whether that duty extends to all arrests or is limited to specific arrests.
Is that an exact quote?
That's an exact quote.
I believe you.
And he said, he said, okay, see, that's what it is. You got to be a peace officer. I said, okay, peace officer. I said, you just read the statute. He said, yeah, but it doesn't say anything about security guard. I said, read it again. Anyone who by virtue of his office or public employment. I said, stop right there. I said, now what did you hear? Office? Oh, you talking about office. They talking about that's a state's attorney. I said, well, state's attorney is a public employee. He said, well, no, they're talking about alderman. I said, that's a public employee. I said, anybody that you can name other than a security person or a private individual who has those duties and responsibilities. This man has a duty to maintain public order on his assignment, to make an arrest. Yeah, but he doesn't have the right to make an arrest. He's a citizen. I said, what kind of law school did you go to, Hanrahan? This was Dick Hanrahan. He said, what do you mean? I said, the state law says a citizen can make an arrest, and it's illegal to resist a citizen's arrest. Now, because he become a security officer, his citizenship was taken away. He said, okay, WL, you got me.
So you use mass means of persuasion to convert him to your way of thinking.
No, he knew that all the time. He confessed. Listen, this man, Hanrahan, confessed to me. We were around each other quite often because, I was Jesse's bodyguard, and Jesse and him didn't have any bad words. But anyway, he said, I tell you what, if any of your people are arrested for a weapon, my people will not prosecute them. I can't tell the police department what to do. He said, but the mayor told us, do not let those people know they have a right to carry a gun on the streets. He said, because it's too many of them who are private security people and private detectives who would have a right to be roaming around our streets with guns. So he said, if any of you people, he told that to all the law enforcement heads. And at that time, Daly was the chairman of the Democratic Party of Cook County, and he revealed the power of Jesus. So he Hanrahan said, now, if your people are arrested, they will not be prosecuted. I said, what about the gun? You'll get the guns back. He said, but you can't tell any other agency about this. If you do, WL, I will hound you until I'm out of office because the deal is going to fire me. I won't, when I'll be there for my term, but he will not
Reappoint you.
Right, or re-elect me for the next term. He said, but I will hound you until I'm out of office if you let it out. I said, okay. I said, we'll see about that. I went straight to my organization, tried to get them on board with me, but they were unlearned, who said, man, you always come up with harebrained ideas. Ain't nobody gonna go to no state. I told him to send the lawyer over to the state's attorney with this information and with this knowledge, and let them know that, tell them that they did the research, and you know, he has to go along with it. He said, "Man, you go over there and do that with Henry. I'm not gonna do that with Henry, and I'm not gonna have my lawyer do no stuff like that." I said, "I'm talking about the organization lawyer." "No, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't even go to him with some crazy stuff like that." I said, "Okay, thank you."
So you're talking about something that happened in the 1970s, and here we is in 2017. We can't solve the issues of 1970 in 2017. We must be confronted with the issues that are present today.
Those issues are still prevalent.
Well, we have FOID card licenses, we have concealed
Concealed
carry
weapon, yeah.
licenses.
Yeah.
So they're trying to tone down on the number of guns and the people that are capable or would be eligible to have them legally.
I don't follow what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, back then, people had guns, and at some point in time, they were merely misdemeanors. Remember that?
Yeah,
they
but-
weren't felonies.
They
Yeah,
weren't
but
felonies.
by the same
They
token,
weren't treated as
They,
anything
no, they,
serious.
No, they didn't. They knew that the law was there, so they were nice enough not to give the guys records. So what they did to my people when they arrested my people, they arrested them, took them before the judge. The judge said, "Okay, I'll give you 30 days. What do you call it? My memory is going away." Anyway, if you don't get into trouble in the 30 days, the case will be dismissed.
Okay.
So they didn't have any. They had no records, but the gun was confiscated. So the guys were losing a lot of guns. So, but Henry stuck to his word. When my guy was arrested, the first guy who was arrested, he walked up before the judge. The state's attorney looked over and said, "Judge, this young man works for the W.L. Lillard Detective Agency." The judge said, "Oh, does he have credentials?" He said, "Sure." Passed the credentials up to the judge. The judge said, "Okay, case dismissed." He said, "What about his gun, Judge?" "Give his gun back." He reached it over in the policeman's hand, take the gun out of the policeman's hand and give it to the officer in the court. And the policeman was standing there like this. What the hell?
Now,
The
was
state's
that favor shown to you as WL Detective Agency, or was it shown to everybody?
No, just Lillard.
Oh, so you was given a favor.
Yeah, but remember, I went to the association president, and 5 or 6 other members were there in the office when I talked to them,
Okay.
and they told me I was crazy. I tried to get them to go and do the same thing I did, but they wouldn't do it. So let me speed forward. After the second guy, Lillard, was arrested, and the same thing happened, the word got around. You might well leave them little guys alone because they make you look like a fool in court. So they got some kind of weird clout. So when this guy was, stopped for running the red light, one of my guys was stopped for running the red light. Let me see your driver's license. He pulled out his stop pouch and pulled his driver's license. He said, wait. Oh man, go ahead, go. Wouldn't even give him. Wouldn't even give him.
Yeah, I think it was.
Wouldn't even give him a ticket.
Judicial favor.
Yeah, judicial.
So, but after the state's attorney in that particular office retired after about 4 years, he resigned from the state's attorney's office and ran for the state legislature. His duties were to tweak the law so these guys couldn't carry a gun permanently. Okay? What was the tweaking? What you were talking about, that
Concealed
TAN
weapon.
card.
FOID card.
FOID.
Not the FOID, the TAN card. We have they had what do you call it? Not conceal. It's a firearm control card, FCC card, firearm control card,
Okay.
issued by the Department of Professional Regulations. And that firearm control card gave you the right to carry a gun while working or commuting between your home and place of employment. You can't run around the street with a gun.
That's right.
So you got 1 hour to get home, 1 hour to get to work. So anything outside that hour, you're going to jail. Now that became state law, so it took them out of that, although they're still peace officers, but it gave them additional law. It made an additional law for them. The state's attorney said he figured it out while he was hearing the cases. But, you know, my point is how convoluted everything is, you know. How could you do that for one agency when you know it's a farce and you don't do it for all of them?
Right.
See, that's why I took the chance. I said, oh, let them hound me. I'm going to go to my colleagues and let them know that they can get out of this.
Well, I'm going to defer to my co-guest here to answer that, particular
you know,
question.
that question right there is just, I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact of today's time, fast forwarding into the fact that, you know, individuals are able to carry concealed weapon cards, and what's the other card you said, the
FOID.
FOR, yeah. I mean, that's
Firearms.
the accountability of knowing who has guns now, who has those weapons on them. I mean, I might be getting off the subject, but I was just thinking about that as you were talking about it, and that today is still is they control the system. They know what's going on. Everybody has a car. They know that count of people who have them. You know, back in the day, you didn't know who had guns.
That's right. But I had an accident on the expressway, on the Eisenhower Expressway, and state police come. I didn't have my driver's license with me. I didn't have no star with me. I didn't have any. I said, man, I don't have anything to identify me but this gun. He laughed. This anything. What's your name? Got my name or not? And he didn't say take the gun off. He didn't say anything. He just went on to the next guy. Then he went to his car and started interviewing people about the arrest. Six cars were involved in the accident. So I was the perpetrator. So I was last. So then he called me down to ask me questions about it and make the report. I sat in the back seat. You know, you can't get out the back door. So after a while, my telephone, it beeped. I saw my time was running out. I said, walk around, let me out. Go down and get my charger, because he told me he didn't have a charger. He said, can you give me 1 minute? He said, I'll be done in 1 minute. I said, okay. I said, it should last another minute. But then something else came up on the machine. He said, oh no, this is gonna be a little longer there. So he got out of the car and walked around, let me out. I went down to my car. There's another state policeman up in the car, searching the car. I said, can I help you with something? He said, oh, are this your car? I said, yes it is. I was in your briefcase. I saw a brochure about security. Are you a security guard? I said, no, the brochure belonged to me. I own a security company. Oh, you got your ID? I said, no, I don't have any ID. The only ID I have is this gun. He said, oh, does the officer know you're carrying a gun? I wasn't even thinking about his question, because he was just asking stupid questions. I said, what can I help you with, man? He said, let me put your stuff back together here. He said, I'm sorry about that. And I got my charger. We both were walking back down to the squad car, and Tony was standing there talking to some other people, so I stopped to talk with them for a second. But the squad car was about as far as that camera, that monitor there. So I said, I heard him say, he whispered to the other policeman, did you know that guy was carrying a gun? He said, sure I did, but look who he is. Everything about me was on the screen there. So he said, oh my goodness. He came back to me. He said, yeah, guy, you've been around, haven't you?
So your reputation preceded you.
Yeah.
And once they discovered your true identity, then once again you were shown some favor.
Some favor, some courtesy.
What kind of favor?
I think it's called the discretion of the police whether or not to haul you in for having a gun without identification, or having a
But-
license to carry that weapon, or alternatively not having any ID, not realizing who you are until they looked on the screen.
Right. I mean, that's the intelligent thing to do. See, I mean, that's what law enforcement do. They're supposed to do intelligent stuff, not, well, you don't have any ID, put cuffs on the person, and after going through all that, and then go to his screen and say, oh, I made a mistake.
But all cars don't necessarily have that screen
Oh, yeah.
that they can go to.
They all got that.
Back during that time is what I'm talking about.
Now I'm talking about, this happened, what, about a year ago. About a year and a half ago.
So you're saying in today's time, all police cars have the screens that they can automatically look you up and determine who you are, and to determine that you are
Yes.
WL lettered and
Yes.
should be shown some favor?
Not be shown from some favor, but just W.L. Lillard.
Okay.
Okay, and W.L. Lillard has a concealed carry.
Yes.
W.L. Lillard has he's a detective agency.
Yes.
W.L. Lillard has this. W.L. Lillard is a
Your
former
full
police.
resume.
Right.
Yeah, W.L. Lillard is a former police chief. W.L. Lillard is a former deputy
He's
sheriff.
got all your info.
W.L. Lillard, So that's why you said this guy been around.
Yes.
Yeah, it just had your repertoire. It had everything about
Right.
you right
It,
there.
it probably had in there, he wouldn't bust a grape in a grocery store, and he paid his taxes on time.
right.
Right. Well, this has been actually an excellent educating
We
show.
bust a grape.
So,
Well, gentlemen, we've had a good time, but I need to hear some of you guys' statements, and especially Bill. Give us a little tidbit on law this week.
Well, I
Something we
think
could
that
rely upon for the next week.
we should be mindful of what happened in Las Vegas within the past 2 weeks or so, when an individual took it upon himself and just randomly shot and killed senselessly innocent individuals, because he had the capacity to go into the store and get this device that you could put on a weapon to make it an automatic weapon and just
But he had-
mow down people.
Look how many weapons he had up there.
That's
How did he
true. The
get that
question
many
becomes,
weapons up
how
there?
did he get them upstairs?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a conspiracy.
that's
to
a
you know, to
question.
me, that's a
I thought about
huge
that.
question. It's like
Yes.
you have two major windows
Yes.
blown out.
Right.
That people, they've told you weather-wise, those windows are made to withstand tornadoes and
Absolutely.
storms.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is, this guy was able to bust out two windows on two different angles. No one sees glass flying down and all the debris going down to
This
the
is true.
streets.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's just it's a lot of things to question.
Yes. A whole lot of
And,
things.
so the conspiracy, I got something on Facebook. This is the weirdest thing. And I don't know how true this is, because I started thinking of it in two sides. They said that this gentleman was actually a FBI agent, the guy that they said did the shooting, and that he normally was the one who bust all of the ISIS gentlemen. I mean, ISIS people who were trying to do gun trades. They say he was on a gun trade mission, but the ISIS people found out who he was, and they killed him. This is what came through on my Facebook. I don't know how true this is, but this guy said this is something that happened. It's supposed to be for real, and that the FBI didn't want it to get out, that they botched the situation where they were able to actually catch the ISIS people. So they put this theory together, conspiracy together, that this is what happened, that he went up there with all, because they were saying that he got all the guns and all of the cameras that were set up in the building were set up by the FBI.
Okay, so how did he end up dead?
They saying that the guys, the ISIS people found out about him, and they actually killed him, and they were able to, and they did whatever they did with the shooters and were able to get out of there.
No, it don't make sense.
I mean, but none of it makes
By
sense for
by
one
that time,
person.
they had so many police around surrounding their place.
But remember this, they said that before he did any of the shooting, a security guard got shot because
Yeah,
he was coming up
yeah.
to his room. So that in itself would
Shot
have
through the door.
Right, that in itself should have been some type of red flag for the people, the authorities to get into that building. And again, WL, 2 big windows blown out. I mean, literally, you see how
I
big
agree.
those holes were?
I agree.
That's a lot of glass flying down on the streets, and nobody sees it.
I think he just shot it out and then started shooting.
But he had to, I mean, was he good? Like, he had to shoot like this, because one was on this angle on this side of the window, and the other one was angled on another side, so they could make sure that they can hit the crowd, span out across the crowd. He can't, I don't know anybody that can shoot that good and be able to blow both of those windows out at the same time.
You don't have to do it at the same time. Just shoot this one out, shoot these people, got them scrambling, and then go shoot the other one out and shoot those people. So, we're gonna make a big thing out of it because, they talking about how the window got broken and without glass flying. You didn't care about the glass flying down now because bullets are coming down too.
That could be true.
And the glass could have killed some of the people as well.
But in today's world, I just say so much goes on and so many things behind the true story of what's
Yeah.
happening that
I agree. It's
I mean, I don't see how a guy can get that many weapons into a hotel.
now, that's the question.
And then the stories when they first asked the guy that was at his home, they said, "Well, what did you find?" He said, "It was just a normal home. We didn't find anything. It was normal. Everything was in place."
It
Then
was
all of a
then
sudden,
found
2 hours later,
All those guns.
it was a bunch of, it was just like
An arsenal.
Right.
of guns. So it's like the story changed as it went, moved forward. So it's like.
And the
if
brother
you-
claimed he didn't know anything about his brother having them kind of weapons.
Right. So it's like
But he looked so phony talking, didn't he? The brother.
the actual sheriff that came out, the first
He didn't
sheriff.
show
was
any
ve-
remorse. His brother dead.
Well, they come from a background from a father that was a bank robber, and was on the run. So he even said it himself. He said he was conceived during the time that his father was, on the run. So it's like the bloodline is very heavy, as far as genes. So who knows how they were raised and what they went through and what they've seen in their lives.
That's true.
So, but my thing is this, I just, I like to look at these things because it makes you become more aware of what's going on.
That's true.
And want to look into things more deeper than what they are because that's what we need to do. And this world has so much going on that if you don't look at it beyond just what's in front of you, then you're missing the picture anyway.
You're absolutely right. Well, guys, we're out of time, and Bill looks sleepy, so we got to let him go. Get his rest.
Bill.
It's been a long day, I will admit, but I will remain awake as long as I'm on your show.
That's right. And I did.
Now, you sound like you're talking about our buddy
Oh yeah.
Herman Roberts.
Oh yeah, Herman Roberts. Well, that's a whole nother story. We don't even want
Let's
to
not
get
get
started
into
on
that
one.
tonight.
Right.
He's a
'cause
good man.
that'd be a whole nother story.
Herman's one of my favorite friends for years. Good man.
Have to get him back on the show.
I'm glad he get him back on. I'm glad he got that award last night.
Oh, yeah.
Because he
That was
deserves it.
True honor, and that's a history that needs to be said.
Well, thanks, Bill, for joining us. on
Oh, it's a
Straight Talk.
pleasure being here. I trust we settled some problems of the world tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Some problems.
Appreciate you.
But I think we gave a lot of good information to the public to work
Yes, we
with.
did. Well, sir, it was good being on the show with you.
Pleasure to think my own.
Klaus, thank you.
Pleasure my own.
And Dion,
Yes.
well, we talk about that on the next show.
Yes,
So
sir.
We're out of time.
We get
Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk, and we'll see you this time again tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you.